Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm sorry we were wrestling with the screen sharing and the fact that people were coming in to join. Again, welcome. My name is Michael Leventhal, and I'm a member of the Robo Mali AI4D Lab in Bamako, Mali. And I'm with my colleagues Alessero Augustapo and Jakuba Jara. And we're a member lab in the AI4D network with 7, or perhaps it's already 9 labs throughout Africa. And we wanted to have a discussion about the situation that we deal with in a country with very low resources, and our strategies for dealing with that situation and being a productive AI4D lab that's serving our mission. Okay, so to begin with, let me just talk about what we mean by artificial intelligence for development. There is a website. It is perhaps on that site, it has a definition, but let me give you the one that we work with. So research and creation of artificial intelligence solutions that can contribute to the social and economic growth of a developing country. Let's see, perhaps I should mention, the slides are bilingual. I'm sure that we have some people joining who speak and understand French. So if you have questions, you can put them in the chat, or we can discuss afterward. And each one can use their own language. But we're going to speak in English, but hopefully the slides with the French language will help you to understand. Okay, donc tous les dispositifs sont bilingues, mais la discussion peut se tenir en français et en anglais, les deux. Donc l'intention, c'est que la présentation est bilingue et ouverte les francophones ainsi que l'anglophone. Okay, so AI4D, what it isn't. It is not the classical model of scientific research where scientific exploration is more important than the results obtained. It's not commercial research where you're trying to profit from that research, producing a product, producing a result, which might be good for us, but it's not concerned with the well-being of the country. AI for good. It's not that either, even though AI for good is good, but it's not focused on economic development for a country with low resources. It's focused on many potential things, could apply to countries in all situations. But AI4D for us is focused uniquely on the situation of countries that are on the development path and rather on the lower end of that. Okay, and what do we mean exactly by a country with low resources? And I think a reasonable yardstick is to use the Human Development Index. Okay, Human Development Index ranks all countries. It has a score that takes many factors into account, but currently below 0.550 score is considered a country with low human resources. Unfortunately, most of the countries in Africa fall into that category, but within that category, I think that there's a big difference between those at the high end of the scale and those at the low end. So if you take the average of all countries in that category, it's 0.517. Okay. However, when you look at Africa below 0.517, there are 23 countries. Above, there's 9. Okay. When we look at our network, AI4D, there are 3 countries that are in that group of 23 at the low end of the low. and there's 5 that are in the high end. So we can say in our AI4D network, there's definitely a favoring of countries with higher development within the African context. And there are 2 that are extremely high. Well, Kenya is high, maybe not extremely high. South Africa is extremely high. It's a middle income country, so completely out of that category. And actually, the difference between one of our funders, Canada, and South Africa is actually smaller than the difference between South Africa and Mali. So we're really in different universes. And I think we need to understand that, and we need to look at the problems that are really specific to those 23 countries in the lower half of the low end. Okay, so what are the concrete things that we deal with? And again, this presentation is not about crying about our problems, okay? But just in the way of definition. So those that are not in countries dealing with the situation we deal with can have some insight into what it means to be on the low end of low human resource. So our education system is in very, very bad shape. Okay, we are not developing a technologically competent population, and the problem begins from kindergarten. We have an incredibly high rate of illiteracy, 70%. The average number of years that an adult has spent in school in Mali is 4. Okay, 2 interesting facts that may have a bearing on this. One is that our language of instruction is French. We're a francophone country. Dit said to be francophone, but only 14 to 20% of our population can actually robotics, many other fields. We are developing more and more people capable and interested in those fields. They can't stay here. They have to leave, and so we're in a situation where the brain drain is severe, and it's absolutely inevitable. When we look at computer science in our undergraduate level, when we ask ourselves how many of the courses would be at the level, international level that you would expect in any country, and it's very, very rare, maybe none, but that's a matter of opinion. No one will dispute that a good computer science course is very rare in the Malian education system. How many courses can you take in artificial intelligence in a Malian university? Zero. Our lab has taught courses in universities and outside of universities, but I'm talking about what is part of the regular curriculum of any regular university in Mali, and right now it's 0. The conditions in the universities are very tough for developing, for example, AI. When the salary fixed by the state of a professor in Mali has a base of $300 per month, and with additional benefits can be as much as $600 a month. Okay, how are we going to attract people able to teach AI to our country? Okay, and we have a fairly unstable university system. We have strikes. You have insight into some of the reasons. So the strikes are very frequent, and that impacts the course of study of all of our students. Mr. Tapo, his entire academic path was changed by a year of strikes in Mali. Okay, how about our situation with data and how the environment affects our ability to do AI? Okay, in general, we're in the low resource data, like many countries, but we're on the low end of the low. So data may be inexistent for many of the things that we want to do, or the quality is extremely low. Okay, if we want to gather new data by various means and we want to clean it, prepare it for AI training, one of our big challenges is the skill of the people that we have available to do that training. if we're 70% illiterate, you can imagine how high digital literacy is. It's very low. Okay. Do we have money, given our overall financial situation, to train a big model? No, never, impossible. Even modestly sized models, that's going to impose a challenge. And anything that involves connecting to the cloud, paying for services, we encounter all the time geo-blocking, geographical barriers, financial barriers to even getting access, had we the money. We are making solutions for our population, and the situation of our population limits what solutions will work and not work. So if we're digitally basically not an extremely literate population, then the solutions have to be done in such a way that people are able to benefit from AI. If you have a population that uses smartphones, can use AI applications, can use apps without any barrier, then you have many more possibilities. And we have a lot of infrastructure problems, connectivity, ability to pay for connectivity, the quality of computing devices or smartphones that people have, and electricity. We have long periods where we have a few hours of electricity a day, and that's in the capital. A lot of our regions don't have electricity at all. In general, we have in Mali a multi-dimensional crisis. So electricity, we've mentioned, security, this is well known to you if you read the news. The way that our country is perceived outside, my main argument against this is that it's just based on our experience. When we've been able to pull together a little resources, the results that we get are really good. And they're really good because of our understanding of our situation. So 50X is referring to one project where we were able to produce about 50 times the quantity of result material as an approach without AI. And AI was definitely part of it, but the other part of it was the fact that we know our country, we know our situation. So we say when we are confronted with some of the toughest problems in the world, if AI is so great, why don't we apply AI to those problems? I mean, that's a big win not only for us but for all of humanity. Okay. The 377X is actually financial figure, the efficiency of our solution compared to something comparable that was done without AI. A international development agency spent $54 million in Mali. That project that produced 50X material also did it with 377 of the amount of money that big development project had. So I think, again, to us, this is a very strong demonstration that when we deal with our own problems and we develop our own competence, we get extraordinary results. Okay, now we'd like to talk concretely about solutions, what we're doing in our different projects, some of our projects. And I'm going to pass the presentation over to my colleague, Mr. Tapo.
Thank you, Michael. How to address the education issues that we have had? We started by identifying the prerequisites, to train the trainers, to develop tools to personalize learning, to study in our national languages, to propose and develop accessible educational content, to do continuous and regular training in rural areas, and analyze and adjust pedagogical approaches and methods. Like Michael was mentioning before, a strike pushed me out of Mali to go to Ghana to study English. So once I came back, I found out that I couldn't continue with my undergrad studies, so I had to start from scratch, which I did. But once I completed my undergrad studies, I had an opportunity to work with the team that put in place the first ever robotics team of Mali to compete in Washington, D.C., we didn't have the know-how, nor the curriculum developed to be able to train them, for them to be able to do the challenge. But we went on to recruit the students, to train them. Once they were trained, they were able to understand the requirements for the competition, to build the necessary solutions, and to compete. And in Washington, D.C. in 2017, they competed against a field of 168 nations and placed second. And that opened the door for me to be able to secure a Fulbright scholarship to go to the United States to study. Prior to that, all I had in mind was to study AI, even though I didn't really have enough insight as to what it really was. But I thought, all in one, you are now in the US, so you should be enjoying your life and living your best life. But that was not quite the case, because once I arrived at RIT, one of the things I found out was that I needed to take up bridge courses, because whatever the curriculum that I have been exposed to in Mali was nowhere near comparable to what was required to really be able to go through the master's program there. So I had to take up the bridge courses to bridge my knowledge gap, to be able to really benefit from my stay at RIT and in the US. Then I thought, what could be better than to work for my master's thesis on a project that could enable other people back in Mali that didn't have the same opportunities that I had, to be able to learn whatever it is that they want to learn in a language that they understand. And off I went. The original idea was how to build a system, an end-to-end system that could take audio input and output audio input. And through my literature research, we found out that it was extremely difficult of a problem at the time to be able to do such a thing. And we were suggested to try machine translation, because it's a much easier problem compared to dealing with an end-to-end machine translation, speech translation, which I took on, and I did my master's thesis on that. And once my Fulbright program was over, I came back in Mali, and I returned back for my PhD, well equipped, better than after my undergrad degree, to pursue my PhD in computing and information sciences. And something amazing happened. The technologies were being developed, and a lot of progress has been made so far. But there was just one fundamental problem, the data problem. It's never enough to have enough data. And a year ago, Google put out a Bambara translation tool to their Google Translate, which was great. But the intention behind it and its purpose and impact were really limited, since people for whom this technology was developed were not really competent enough or literate enough to be able to utilize it as it should be. And up to this day, there is no voice synthesis or voice input for automatic speech recognition for Bambara or Unko. And what better problem to tackle than to fill that gap as well. And what I propose for my PhD thesis is to work on an end-to-end learning platform where people will be taught CS, computer science, and artificial intelligence topics in Bambara. We collect that data, we annotate it by transcribing it and translating it as well, if need be. Then we have the data that we can fine-tune models and train new models, then to evaluate the effectiveness of those models. That will help us to fill the gap. The e-learning platform will allow us to interact with our students or the users in a language that they understand. And the people who are capable of writing or reading can also utilize text. As for the crowdsourcing platform, one of the issues that we run into recently, we conducted a human evaluation of the info portion of Google's Translate. We found out that most of the work that have been done, if the annotators are not trained, they cannot really do a great job to help any machine learning situation at all. Because to create a quality data, people need to build it purposefully for it to be really useful. And once we have the data, then it's a matter of finding either building on the existing models that are there, to leverage them, to fine-tune them, or to create new models that are really relevant to our context, that are able to understand our culture, our context, and everything in between. And for the next part, I will hand it over to my colleague Yakuba Jara for the work that he is doing on the ASR.
Okay. Thank you very much, Depo. Okay, so as Michael was saying at the beginning, we are not here to cry about our situation, and as Depo just presented the way he is tackling the education issue, one thing remains, it is that we are doing research on artificial intelligence. We are a research lab, so we have to deal with, excuse me?
Interrupt to let some people join.
Okay, sorry.
Just say what you're going to do.
Okay. Just, we will try to let some people join the meeting. It seems that there are some people waiting. How do we even navigate? Yeah. I hate my goodness. I think it's that one. Okay. 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 All right. Okay. Sorry. All right. Okay. Excuse me for this interruption. Excuse me for this interruption. So what I'm going to do now is to concretely present is some kind of strategy and on how to deal with low resourceness in especially extreme low resource countries. So when we're talking about AI and the resources we are talking about are mainly data, compute, and human resources. And now the question I'm trying to answer in the next slide is how to build AI in context where all three of those resources are rare. So, and the answer to this question is actually something that some framework that I like to call the low resource philosophy. So the basic idea is just to design solution projects and research plans, actually, strategies, all around the low resource aspect of our situation. So implement everything knowing that we are in a low resource situation and without pre-assuming any change in the near future. So the framework is all about how to do with what we have actually. And the general outlines of the idea is can be summarized in 3 points. And those points are the first one, and I think maybe not the most obvious one, is that we should not actually strive to create datasets, to create all new datasets. I think we should rather focus on transforming or generating data, because that actually turns out to be less time consuming and most of the time involve less work around the data. And the second aspect of the plan is to try in designing the experiments, do everything to minimize the compute at the maximum level possible. So just it's not just about training lightweight models, but also thinking about quantization techniques, thinking about the environment we'll be training our models on, thinking about designing something that really can fit in our budgets and what we can afford to do. And the last point and the most important part for me is to automate human tasks, actually, to automate as much human labor as possible. And that's the work we've been doing in our ASR research. So when I first took this research at the lab 6 months ago, we had to work with the GDASR dataset that Robomai had developed in 2022. And as I said, the first point was to not create a new dataset. So we wanted to run early experiments, early ASR experiments on this dataset that actually had a lot of issues, but trying to think how to resolve those issues. The main issue in the dataset was that the data was not all aligned. Most of the data actually was misaligned. And we had to think of a way to isolate the misaligned sample from the good ones actually, to train our early experiments. To do that, we needed to manually separate those data, and that actually will involve a lot of human labor. And to minimize this needed work, we actually implemented the framework, the basic strategy of automatizing anything that can be. So we isolated 10% of the data sets manually and trained the binary classification model to complete this task on the rest of the data sets. And the experiments we've been running, and those experiments actually gave models that we have published on Hugging Face. So while training those models, anything had really been designed to minimize the cost of training. So we had chosen the most lightweight available models for fine tuning, and those models have actually been trained on about 30 hours of data from the JDSR subset for only 48 hours, and we have trained those models for less than $100 actually, which is pretty impressive according to me. And continuing this philosophy now, we are trying to explore new methodologies and new ideas to approach ASR actually. We are currently annotating some data, manually annotating some data to train a scoring model and try to approach automatic speech recognition from a reinforcement learning point of view, trying to get something usable without explicit labels. And I think that's all for me. I will hand it over to Michael.
Okay, so I'm going to conclude with a brief discussion about the politics and the policy landscape. So first of all, what you should know about us is that we are not part of the government. We are not kind of an official structure. We're an association, a nonprofit association. We have always worked closely with the government. The government actually helped us to get started in many ways. But the productivity of that relationship varies. And so when we can get something done, we work with the government, we go our route. But it's very critical, we think, to retain the independence. We just would not have been able to do what we've done, to do with the budget we've done, and the circumstances that we work in as part of a government structure, at least in the current situation today. We're not an elite institution. We try to be the opposite, really open to the public, to students, a lot just walk in and learn about what we do. We are a collaborative institution, so we are open, and we've sought out to work with other organizations trying to do similar things. And we really view ourselves, our primary function as a catalyst, right? How to get things started and how to help others do things by adding our know-how and our experience. I think this strategy has been remarkably successful, but it's not easy. So it doesn't really fit into the schema of classical development theory. So it's hard to get an organization like ours funded. It's hard to establish credibility. That's been a very long and very often painful process. Okay, there are some things that we are not trying to do directly. One of them that we know is very important is to have a national AI strategy. We don't have one right now in Mali. So what we tried to do is change the facts on the ground. So create resources and mobilize the population, get the things into the hands of people, and especially to help the change makers to have more tools to do what they're trying to do. So just examples of that, we have created actually a huge library of books in the languages that we speak in Mali, our national languages, and educational pedagogical material using Gen AI. And we've created reading clubs and now a national competition to encourage interest in reading in Bambara to help develop the literacy, higher literacy. We're working right now on developing an AI curriculum for the universities that's going to be open data, open source. And talking to the universities, we have a lot that are interested, saying, okay, putting together an AI program may be hard, so let's make it easier. Here's the kind of material that you could use. Here are models for structuring your program. And if your teachers are not really up on AI, we'll help to train your teachers. And we have a group now of universities that are ready to work with us. Encore. Mais c'est la fin. Okay. 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 And if I were to describe this approach in a word, is we're working around the edges of officialdom, of the official, the government system. And in the educational context, we could call this curriculism. So, for example, we've had a STEM and robotics camp for many years, and we started 10 years ago taking kids 8 years old. Some of those kids that joined us at 8 are now in the university studying computer science, robotics, and artificial intelligence. So it's a long game. It's a long game, and we have to start with our very young people. We can't start to fix this at the university level, even the high school level. That's what we've been doing. We created national teams in robotics. Every year, we've sent them to competitions. We've tried to get the country excited by our successes, and we've won 39 medals in national competitions. So it's inspired a lot of kids. We offer courses. We've taught in schools and universities. We've had public courses. We bring people to our center. So just come and learn, and doing programs like this, as well as conferences, open workshops, and so forth. Always open to the general public. We've been the host of Indaba X, the national deep learning Indaba in Mali the last 4 years, and we're preparing the fifth year. And we've had up to 800 students participate. We decided not to make this for researchers only, which would have maybe brought together 3 or 4 people, but to bring hundreds of students who didn't know a heck of a lot about AI, but get them inspired, and that's paying off. This year, we're going to do the International Olympiad of Artificial Intelligence. We're using the material developed in Brazil to be able to do a nationwide program to have thousands of students that are going to pass through the first 2 phases of qualification to represent Mali in the International Olympiad of AI. And so we hope to get the whole country excited about AI and actively participating. Okay, so this is the first time we've presented this material. We hope that it's a start of a discussion I don't think has been happening in the AI community in Africa enough. So we want to really focus on this issue of the countries at the very low end of low resource, and how they can do AI programs and how they can really make a change in their country. So we hope to be doing this again. We'll do it in French another time instead of just bilingual. So we hope that you'll join this discussion, and we invite you now, if you have questions or comments, to join the discussion right now. Thank you. Okay. Il y a dans le chat?
No, there is no question in the chat.
Okay. So I'm sorry for those that came late and just got accepted. The presentation is actually finished. But we invite any comments or questions on the theme now. And
Okay, Charlene Migui. Correct pronouncing her name.
okay, Charlene, did you have a question?
Yes, hopefully I can ask it in English. Thank you for the presentation. My question is, I think you have really good insights around low resource environments, and it's something that we're grappling with. Because I'm part of Caribou Digital, and we do a lot of research on AI in Africa. So I was checking if you have any resources or you've documented your approach, and we can look at a document that at least we could integrate into some of our research. Yeah, that would be my question to it. Is there some publications we could see around implementing AI in a low resource environment?
So I'll start. We haven't issued like documentation of our approach. We've talked to a lot of different organizations, perhaps not to yours, but you know, we're plugged in, and not only the AI4D network, but the Gates activity, Masakane, and let's see what else, guys. Let's see, Pan-African Robotics Competition. So I would say we're continually sharing the perspective and the solutions. We hope we've proposed to do this workshop at Deep Learning Indaba as a half-day workshop. So if that's accepted, we don't have acceptance yet, but we would hope to actually get other countries to share their experience and to put that into a kind of working document that we would share with a larger audience. So that's where we would like to take it, is to more discussion, more sharing.
Okay, can I ask, Michael, can I ask one more question regarding that? In terms of our interest is around youth employability, youth jobs, or really the skill sets that are needed. Because we are hearing a lot, and you've spoken a lot about the Mali education system, but we're hearing a lot around the data science and AI skills. But do you think there is a need for more resources and for funders to support basic skills for people to really integrate AI into their workplace, into improving their livelihoods beyond the bigger AI skill sets that we've discussed in the call?
Okay, I think Tapo, you want to take? I'm going to pass this question, Mr. Tapo. He's most focused on it.
Thank you very much for the question. From our perspective, we believe that I'm not sure if everybody from where you are, they speak English. In Mali, that's not really the case. So we are focusing on training them in Bambara, which is the most spoken national language in Mali, to be able to really acquire computer skills and to develop that further. Whether it be just to gather information or to be able to be annotators and be paid for the work that they do, or to build their startups, things like that. That may seem out of reach from the outside, but actually when you equip them, because currently I have 6 people that I'm working on to set up our experiments, and some of them have little education at all, either in French or English, but they are able to open computers to know what the different components are, what are their purposes, and to put them back, and to be able to do things that I have learned or took me longer to learn than to just explain them into national languages, and that they could be out fixing people's laptop or computers and be paid for. Those are some of the examples or some of the routes that we are exploring currently.
Thank you. Yeah, that answers my question. I think we're on the same page that beyond the AI, hardcore data skills. There's still some basic literacy that needs to be taught around the digital skills. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's see if there's more questions.
Are there any more questions?
Or comments?
Or comments, or suggestions, or critics, or feedback?
Basically anything.
Or if you prefer to speak in French, you're welcome to speak in French as well. Si vous voulez parler en français aussi, il n'y a pas de problème. Vous pouvez poser vos questions en français. Ou en bambara. Ou en peul. In case you are speaking, everybody is muted, so maybe check your mic. Anybody? Okay, so we hope that you understood everything. If not, feel free to reach out with questions. Michael, back to you.
Okay, I believe that this has been recorded also, so we'll make the recording available for those that weren't able to join. And from our team here in Bamako, thank you, and hope to see you in at Deep Learning Indaba or anywhere else. Thank you very much. Good afternoon.